The grand stage at the National Mall in Washington, D.C., was adorned with banners reading, "Trump 2025, Keep America Great Again." The crowd stretched as far as the eye could see, red hats and American flags waving under the bright winter sun. It was Donald J. Trump's first major rally since returning to office, and the energy was electric. The cameras from every major network were rolling, broadcasting his words to millions. Trump stepped up to the podium, adjusting his signature red tie, a smirk spreading across his face as he soaked in the deafening applause. He raised both hands, motioning for silence, though he clearly relished the adoration. "Folks," he began, his voice booming through the speakers, "here we are again. We did it. We won. And let me tell you, America is back. The radical left said it couldn't be done, the fake news said it wouldn't happen, but guess what? We're in charge again. And things are about to get very, very good for this country." The crowd erupted, chanting, "USA! USA! USA!" You look around, and you see what happened before I took back the White House. It was a total disaster. Biden, a train wreck. The economy, a mess. Inflation, a joke. People couldn't even afford EGGS, folks. Eggs. Can you believe that? But now, in just a few months, things are already turning around. The stock market is up. Gas prices are down. And I'm here to tell you, we are just getting started. More cheers. Trump waved a hand, as if brushing away the failures of his predecessor. "I've already signed the biggest executive orders you've ever seen. Huge. We're cutting taxes, again. We're bringing back manufacturing. We're finishing the wall. Yes, we are, and it's even taller than before." The crowd roared in approval. Cities like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles? A total disaster. Crime is through the roof. The radical left turned them into wastelands. But don't worry, folks. I'm fixing it. We're bringing in the National Guard if we have to. We're going to clean up the streets, and we're going to make these cities great again. He paused, pointing directly at the camera, addressing his critics. The media. The fake news. They won't tell you this, but America is already stronger than it was a year ago. China. They're respecting us again. Russia. They know I mean business. The border. Sealing it up like never before. The applause was deafening. People were on their feet, waving Trump 2025 signs, their voices hoarse from cheering. And just wait until you hear what I say next. It's going to shock the world. The haters, they're going to lose their minds. The radical left, they're going to melt down. But I don't care, because it's the right thing to do. The crowd leaned in, eager for the next bombshell. Then, suddenly, a different chant rose from the back of the rally. It was loud, forceful, and entirely out of place. "Free Palestine! Free Palestine!" Trump blinked, caught off guard for the first time. Security immediately moved toward the disturbance, but it was too late. The next phase of the rally had begun. At first, the chant seemed like a distant echo, barely cutting through the roar of Trump's loyal supporters. But within seconds, it grew louder. More voices joined in. "Free Palestine! Free Palestine!" A section of the crowd near the back of the rally was suddenly alive with movement. Protesters, many draped in Palestinian flags, hoisted signs reading "End the Occupation" and "Justice for Gaza." They shouted with the kind of energy that could not be ignored. Secret Service agents moved swiftly. Security personnel pushed through the crowd, trying to contain the disruption before it spread. Trump supporters, decked out in MAGA gear, responded with counterchants. "USA! USA! USA!" Trump, gripping the podium, squinted toward the disturbance, his lips pursing in annoyance. He held up a hand. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," he said into the microphone, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We've got some very angry people here today, huh? Very angry people. Very misinformed people." Some of his supporters booed loudly, jeering at the protesters. A few yelled, "Go home." Others hurled insults. Trump tilted his head, pretending to listen to the chants. Then, with his classic smirk, he shook his head. "Folks, listen to this. Free Palestine." He repeated the words mockingly, turning slightly toward the cameras. You know, it's incredible. These people, nobody's treated Palestine worse than Joe Biden, okay? Nobody. He gave them nothing. He ignored them. But me. Oh, they're going to love what I have to say. He leaned in, gripping the microphone dramatically. But first, let me ask you something. Where were all these protesters when I moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem? Oh, they were furious. Where were they when I made the Abraham Accords? They said it was impossible, but I did it. Where were they when I was out of office and Gaza was getting bombed every other week? Huh. They didn't say a word then. Now they show up. Now. The crowd erupted, cheering him on. One of the protesters tried to push closer to the stage, waving a large Palestinian flag. But before security could reach him, Trump raised a hand. No, no, let him stay, he said, grinning. You see, I actually like this. I like when people protest because it means they're watching. It means they're paying attention. He pointed a finger at the group of demonstrators. So listen up, Free Palestine people, because you're not going to believe what I'm about to say. The protesters kept chanting, but they were no longer ignored. Every camera was now focused on them, capturing their furious faces. The crowd waited in suspense, uncertain of what was coming next. Trump adjusted his microphone and took a deep breath. I have a plan, he said, pausing for effect. And it's big. It's bold. It's something nobody's ever done before. In the next few years, I, Donald J. Trump, am going to rebuild the Gaza Strip. And I'm going to make it the most prosperous region in the Middle East. For a moment, the entire rally froze. Silence. Then, chaos. Trump supporters looked at one another in confusion. The Free Palestine protesters fell silent, unsure if they had misheard him. And the media. The reporters scrambling at the press tables could barely believe what they had just witnessed. Trump smirked, soaking in the stunned expressions around him. That's right, he said, his voice smooth, confident. We're going to do something that's never been done before. We're going to rebuild Gaza. And we're going to do it the Trump way. The gasps, the murmurs, the shifting energy in the air, it was exactly what he wanted. But as his supporters scrambled to make sense of what their leader had just declared, Trump lifted his hands again. Now, don't panic, folks. I'll explain everything. But trust me, this is going to be huge. The rally stood frozen in shock. Trump supporters exchanged confused glances. The Free Palestine protesters, moments ago shouting in defiance, now stood stunned into silence. The press section was in chaos, reporters typing furiously, camera crews zooming in on Trump's face, waiting for clarification. Trump, as always, thrived in the suspense. He let the moment breathe. He could see the headlines already. Trump announces unprecedented plan to rebuild Gaza. Trump shocks both sides, peace or politics. He gripped the microphone, smirked, and leaned forward. That's right, folks. You heard me. I'm going to rebuild Gaza. And I'm going to do it better than anyone in history. The MAGA crowd still looked uneasy. The Free Palestine protesters were wary, skeptical. Trump held up a hand. Now, some of my people here are thinking, Mr. President, why would you do this? Why help them? Why not just let them figure it out themselves? And it's a fair question. A very fair question. He nodded to himself. But let me tell you this. This is a business opportunity. This is what they call thinking outside the box. People have been fighting over this land for decades. Nobody's won. Nobody's fixed it. But you know what? I fix things. I build things. I make things great. He pointed toward the Palestinian protesters. And you people over there, you're always talking about how Gaza is suffering, how they don't have infrastructure, how they don't have a future. Well, guess what? I'm going to give them one. And it's going to be tremendous. A murmur spread through the rally. Even some of the most hardcore supporters seemed intrigued. Trump stepped away from the podium, walking the stage like a reality TV host about to unveil a big prize. Now, let me tell you exactly how we do this. It's called the Trump Gaza Plan. The big screen behind him flashed on, revealing a golden blueprint, complete with skyscrapers, shopping centers, and wide, glistening roads. Trump City, Gaza, the future of the Middle East. The crowd gasped. We're talking luxury hotels. We're talking beachfront resorts. We're talking about turning Gaza into the Las Vegas of the Middle East. He pointed to the screen again. See those towers? Trump Tower Gaza. Oh, it's happening. And the casinos? Huge money. Gaza is sitting on prime real estate. You have the Mediterranean right there. And they're doing nothing with it. But me. Oh, I'm going to change that. The MAGA side of the audience started to warm up. After all, this wasn't about handouts, this was about business. Trump paced again, his voice commanding. And here's the best part. Who pays for it? Not US. Oh no, folks. We don't pay a dime. We get Saudi investors, UAE investors, Qatari investors. The Gulf states have billions just sitting around. And I've got them on speed dial. He mimicked holding a phone. Ring, ring. Hello, Mohammed? You ready to make Gaza rich? The crowd laughed. The protesters looked bewildered. This wasn't the speech they expected. Trump continued, his confidence growing. And let me tell you something, this is how you get peace. People don't fight when they're making money. Look at Dubai. Look at Singapore. Look at Monaco. Nobody's throwing rocks when they're driving Bentleys, folks. It's very simple. He turned back to the Free Palestine supporters. You people want freedom. I'm giving you freedom, economic freedom. You want jobs. I'll bring in jobs. You want to be rich. Stick with me. The Palestinian protesters weren't chanting anymore. Some of them exchanged looks. Some seemed confused. A few even looked interested. Trump grinned. And one more thing, who runs this? Not Hamas. Not the Palestinian Authority. Oh no, folks. This is private enterprise. This is business. And nobody does business like Trump. He let the words sink in. The energy was shifting now. His own supporters were back on his side. The idea of turning Gaza into a booming, money-making success story? It was genius. Trump returned to the podium, adjusting his tie. So, my friends, let me leave you with this. The world has been failing Gaza for 70 years. But give me just 4, and I'll make it the richest place in the region. And guess what? The haters will be so jealous. They won't know what to do. The MAGA crowd exploded into cheers. Trump! 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 Even in the Free Palestine section, there was hesitation. Some of them looked intrigued. Could this actually work? Trump smirked. He had done what nobody else could. He had flipped the narrative. And as he soaked in the reaction, a group of Palestinian representatives made their way toward the stage. Something even more unexpected was about to happen. The MAGA crowd was still roaring, cheering Trump's bold new vision for Gaza. But amidst the energy, something even more shocking was happening. The Free Palestine representatives were walking toward the stage. The security teams tensed. The Secret Service, already on high alert after the earlier disruptions, moved quickly, ready to intervene if necessary. A few agents murmured into earpieces, waiting for Trump's signal. But Trump, he loved the moment. He leaned against the podium, smirking as the Palestinian delegation, 3 men in suits, a woman in a keffiyeh, and an older man with graying hair, stepped up onto the stage. The crowd didn't know how to react. Half of them booed. The other half, they were just as curious as Trump. The older man, his name was Omar al-Khatib, a well-respected Palestinian diplomat, stepped forward, lifting the microphone that an aide had handed him. "Mr. President," Omar said, his voice even, his accent thick, "I do not know if you are serious, or if this is just another American promise that disappears into the wind." Trump raised his eyebrows, but let the man continue. "For decades, our people have lived in war, under bombs, under blockade. We have heard promises before. We have seen world leaders talk and do nothing." Omar paused, looking directly at Trump. "Why should we believe you?" The crowd leaned in. This was the moment. The test. The ultimate deal-making moment that Trump had been waiting for. He gripped the microphone. "Because, Omar," he said, his voice smooth, confident, presidential. "I don't just talk. I build." A murmur rippled through the audience. Even the Free Palestine protesters in the crowd were listening now. Trump stepped forward, closing the gap between them. "Look at history, my friend. Look at America. Everything I build is the best. Trump Tower, the best. The economy under my first presidency, the best. The Abraham Accords, people said it couldn't be done. And I did it." Omar folded his arms. "And what do you want in return?" Trump grinned. "Simple. Peace. Business. Success. You want independence? Fine. But true independence isn't just about flags and politics. It's about money. It's about power. It's about turning Gaza into the most valuable real estate in the Middle East. And let me tell you, nobody is better at making real estate valuable than Trump." Omar took a slow breath. He glanced at his delegation. The woman in the keffiyeh whispered something to him. Then, he nodded. The crowd gasped. A moment passed. Then Omar did something that nobody, not the MAGA supporters, not the Free Palestine protesters, not the global media, had expected. He extended his hand. For a second, Trump just looked at it. The moment hung in the air. The cameras zoomed in. Then, he took it. A historic handshake. The crowd erupted. The press section lost their minds. Breaking. Trump and Palestinian leader shake hands in unexpected historic moment. Trump, the man who may bring peace to the Middle East. World leaders react to Trump's surprise Gaza plan. The MAGA crowd, half in shock, half in admiration, chanted his name. Even the Free Palestine supporters, once so fiercely opposed to him, stood there, speechless. Trump raised his microphone one last time. "My friends," he said, grinning ear to ear, "we are going to do something that nobody thought was possible." He pointed at Omar. "We are going to take your people, your homes, and we are going to turn them into the greatest comeback story the world has ever seen." The crowd roared. The Palestinian delegation nodded. And in that moment, whether people liked it or not, the world had changed. Because Donald J. Trump had just done the impossible. And everybody knew it.